Hey everyone, welcome back to Trek on the Tube. I hope everyone is having a wonderful holiday season. I'm sure everyone is happy to know that we are 1 week closer to the end of 2020. Sadly though, that does mean that we are 1 week closer to the end of the 23 consecutive weeks of Star Trek that we got. Oh my goodness, it was so much, it was so good. Even if you don't like Discovery, come on, you gotta admit, having 23 consecutive weeks of new Trek is awesome. Actually, now that I think of it, by the time I release this video, maybe 2020 will already be over. Anyway, today we are talking about Star Trek Discovery Season 3, Episode 11, Su'Kal. And it felt very much like the first part of a multiple-part episode, but no, that was last week. This is probably the first part of the conclusion, though. Let's get into it. I liked the feel of this episode, the vibe of it, the nature of it. And that counts for a lot. However, I'm not the biggest fan of some narrative choices and character developments the episode made, and those things count for a lot as well. So, in an interesting turn of events, rather than standing on one side or the other of the opinionated divide that most Discovery episodes create, I find myself divided. Torn between my love for the look and feel of it, but disappointed with the conclusions we ended up getting. How will I handle such pain? Too much? Too melodramatic, perhaps? Well, tell that to Adira and Gray. Seriously, look, I like Adira. Gray, I don't really care about. The character is a ghost that served mostly as just a plot point in Adira's backstory, but Adira is a character I like and that I would enjoy seeing more of. But not like this. Not in teen drama scenes. Where were you? I was gone. Why were you gone? I can't explain, but I needed you. I know. I'm sorry. Ugh, my God. I understand what the show is trying to get at with this, I think, but the execution is questionable at best, and most of all, it's taking too long. Both characters came in when this season began, and again, although I enjoy Adira, I'm kind of over this specific plotline. I'd prefer to see their story grow. And so, I guess I just kicked off this review with the negative elements first. It won't last long, I promise. I just need to get this off my chest. Michael Burnham is super confident this time around, and Saru is unstable, uncertain, and though it is possible for people to have their ups and downs in life, here it didn't really feel like natural evolutions or a natural change in the nature of the characters. It rather felt like we were back to Discovery's old habit of warping personalities of specific individuals to better suit the story they want to tell in the moment. Do recall we also had this problem with Pike last season, and it's a shame. Because in this instance, it kind of felt like the effort that had been put into building Saru up as the captain and Burnham back into the Starfleet fold was kind of thrown out the window. And then, piled onto that, there's the amount of things that happened that was so not Starfleet. I mean, seriously, there comes a point in Su'Kal where there's so much chaos going on, the Star Trek-ness almost vanished. You see, it's not as simple as a captain giving an order and the crew following it. Oh no. It's a science officer telling the captain what to do on the away mission. Then it's a doctor also just choosing to stay on a whim, it's his own decision. It's also an ensign left in charge of an entire ship that wants to immediately blow it up when things get tough. Then it's the mycelial engineer giving orders to what we had all come to assume was at least the acting chief engineer, so that flew out the window. And then this very man, Stamets, outright questions the orders of the acting captain over the comm. It doesn't even look like he's gonna do it, and then the wildcard non-Starfleet Mr. Booker decides to take his ship to go save the away mission, and for some reason Adira is also on board, which then randomly beams to the surface. Oh my God. Where's the hierarchy? Where's the structure? It's a mess. It's a mess, for real. Burnham at one point even says Saru can't be objective. She says he's compromised. Oh, the irony. And that's just the character things. Story-wise, I didn't like the fact Saru didn't mention the Kelpian was pregnant, but that in itself, I guess, is okay. Even if one could argue it's very unprofessional, because I'm guessing the spots on the head were kind of an indication as to how the radiation was affecting people, and maybe that could have helped Culber and the other scientists kind of figure out what kind of vaccine or what kind of protection they needed against the nebula and the radiation they were going for. But putting that aside, where it really falls apart is because this particular story beat only works because we're on the Discovery with no 32nd Century crew. If Discovery had taken time to do the logical thing and put 32nd Century officers on board, considering Kelpians were a common species in the Federation at that point, we learned earlier that they had joined, chances are someone would have known Saru was lying, and so that fabricated drama of the reveal could not have existed. I hope you understand what I'm trying to get at here because it might not be very clear. Discovery, the show, did an illogical thing by not putting any 32nd Century people on the ship. It goes against the in-universe logic of how events would happen, but that serves a plot purpose. It's convenient for their own plot later on for this dramatic reveal. And then, of course, we move on to the really big thing, the burn. Yes, the burn itself was all triggered by the trauma of a child. I guess I do like the idea that it isn't a big bad villain that caused it, but sadly the explanation felt so far-fetched. I still don't really know what to make of it. The kid, or rather the grown-up kid, is linked to all the dilithium in the universe because he was born near a planet made of it. When he's scared or in pain, he screams, and that somehow triggers waves of dilithium destabilization. Again, I just don't know what to think of this. It's so bizarre a concept. It feels more like fantasy than science fiction. It feels magical, but I mean, I guess why not? Why couldn't this be a thing in Star Trek? Maybe it's because the trigger is a Kelpian. You know, if they had created a new species, a new space whale of some kind, like a Gormagander, or something that lived and thrived thanks to dilithium in the universe, maybe I would have preferred it. I don't know. Simply put, I was disappointed in what we've learned so far when it comes to the overarching story of the season. There are things that I loved in the episode, though, truly, so let's talk about that for a bit, and this is why I'm so divided. For starters, having an away team beam down to a bizarre planet with unexplained things happening on it while the crew problem solves in orbit as a standoff is happening is probably the most Star Trek thing ever, and I liked the feel I got from that. I also think the planet itself and this aging, messed up holo program was such a wonderful idea. Not only did it give us some pretty good comedy moments and an awesome species change up for our beloved Doug Jones, but it also granted the show so much freedom aesthetically speaking. And boy oh boy was everything just gorgeous, from the uniform variations to the somber, decrepit decor, without forgetting the spectacular creature design. That monster was amazing. I have no stronger words. And it wasn't simply the visuals. Yes, it looked terrifying and the quality of the VFX were outstanding, but the sound design for this thing was so good also. The hissing, the wheezing, and there was this almost aquatic water rippling effect to it also. I was blown away. There are even quite a few character moments I enjoyed. Saru talking with the Kelpian elder, it was touching. Culber and Stamets debating the dangers of their life. That felt very real, and it felt like something that a couple would have to go through. I actually very much appreciated that Tilly failed. Not that I'm rooting for her to fail, it just makes sense, you know what I mean? She's nowhere near ready to be a captain yet. In time, yeah, why not, but not right now. Moving right along, honestly, all of the performances were top-notch. The creepy vibe of it worked extremely well. No, I don't like that the Discovery can spore jump with another ship attached to it. No, I wasn't a fan of the bikers that held Stamets against his will. No, I didn't like that blemishes appeared on the skin of our away team, even though they were supposed to be in holographic skins of another species. But we did get to explore just that little more of the Kelpian culture, and so I really am divided. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry I couldn't come to a more clear-cut conclusion on this. It's just, there were so many things that I thought were great and creative and very unique. This is one of the Discovery episodes that I will probably remember the most, because it's so unique, and yet so many story elements kind of didn't work. So anyway, what did you think of Su'Kal? Let's now move on to the Easter eggs and references this episode had to offer, starting with everything hologram or holographic or holodeck related. Malfunctioning holodecks and holoprograms are one of the most common tropes in Star Trek. I wouldn't know where to begin if I had to start naming episodes. I will say though that Su'Kal reminded me a lot of Future Imperfect, the Next Generation episode where Riker is trapped alone on the surface of a planet with an abandoned child that also only has holoprograms to care for him. The holoprogram our crew beams to changes their appearance from one species to another. This is something we've seen happen before in Star Trek when on first contact missions or surveillance missions. It's not often we see actors out of their alien makeup on Star Trek, though it is fun when we do. Kind of reminds me of when we saw the Deep Space Nine cast out of makeup in Far Beyond the Stars. Bringing the holo-related things to an end, the holoprogram gives us a glimpse at a few new Starfleet uniform variations. The damn uniforms change so often in this franchise that anything goes nowadays, honestly. Nothing is wrong, nothing is right. And the Bajoran outfit that Kolba is wearing is quite reminiscent of what we saw in Deep Space Nine. Moving on to the technological stuff, the Discovery is equipped with a cloaking device, and up until now, Starfleet has never used cloaking devices, but we are in the 32nd century, things are different. Maybe the rules and doctrine have changed. Osira uses basically giant mechanical tentacles to capture the Discovery. It was very reminiscent of the grappling hooks from Enterprise, but we've also seen the Pakleds do this in Lower Decks. Finally, Book mentions transwarp conduits, which is something the Borg used in Voyager. We now finish off with a few random things. The episode features a dangerous, destructive nebula. Another famous one of those in Star Trek is the Briar Patch from Insurrection. Tilly mentions Freud. We've seen him before holographically in The Next Generation. Pollard taking care of Grudge the cat. Echoes Phlox being told to take care of Porthos the dog. Aboard the Discovery, there's a memorial plaque dedicated to the USS Clark, a ship that we saw in the show's pilot. As is tradition now in Star Trek, it would seem we get a mention of Hasperat. And a good friend of mine noted that dilithium planets have been a thing in the Star Trek Extended Universe before. Apparently the game Star Trek Armada that came out in 1995 had dilithium planets in it. Or rather, dilithium moons. Alright, that's it for me. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share with your friends. A big thank you to the channel patrons. What did you think of this episode? Was it as puzzling to you as it was for me? That's it. Live long and prosper.